Let's go on to food and drink. Food and drink so important in life.
Massively.
We all love food, we love drink, but it's so much part of travel. So where do you eat? What do you eat? Where's your best meal been? Let's just talk about food and drink in travel.
I was very lucky. I did a film a period film that we shot in Cognac in France. And I didn't really know that area of France at all. And I also didn't realize that Cognac was only about 90 minutes from Bordeaux.
Oh, wonderful.
And if anyone ever asks me what my sort of last meal would be, it would certainly involve sort of some great bottle of Bordeaux red wine. Thank you. I'd be very happy. So we're filming in Cognac, which is this tiny, tiny little place, much smaller than I thought, given obviously the name Cognac. It's globally recognized drink. But I had a weekend in Bordeaux, and a friend of mine, a lovely man called Tom Hudson, who works for Far Vintners, he said, "Oh, you're going to be in Cognac, so you have to go and do a wine tasting in one of the sort of the great chateaux of Bordeaux." I said, "Well, that would be great." And he said, "Well, let me organize it for you." I said, "Thank you very much indeed." So he said, he phoned me and said, "Friday's the best day to go. I've sorted out a private tasting at Chateau Haut-Brion." I thought, oh, right. No, that's right up there. That's sort of a big dog. So a couple of friends of mine, a friend of mine, Adam James, an actor, and his wife Vix came out for the weekend. And so Friday morning, we sort of rolled into this sort of Chateau Haut-Brion, which is right on the outskirts of the city, which I didn't realize. I was expecting sort of vineyards as far as the eye could see, but it's really on the edge of Bordeaux city, which also I didn't realize that Bordeaux was sort of designed and based to be a mini Paris.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So there's a lot of reflections of Paris in Bordeaux, which made me fall in love with the city completely, because I find Paris quite kind of, I've never loved Paris the way a lot of people love Paris. I don't know why. I just sort of, I just, for some reason, never quite got into my veins. And then I go to Bordeaux and go, oh, mini Paris, right on my street.
And wine.
So we go to Haut-Brion, and it's incredibly quiet. There's nobody around at all. So we're thinking, well, where do we go? And there was just one person in a vineyard who literally, was a really hot day, and they had an umbrella. And they were just sort of picking a grape and looking at it. I thought, there's no industry here. It is lit. What? How does this work? So we go up to this lovely private room, and they had this mat set out and said, private tasting in honor of, which was rather sweet.
Oh my God, how amazing.
And there was just this one person, and out came these incredibly beautiful, expensive bottles of wine. And we were tasting them, which we did. And my friend Adam said at the end, he said to the person, what happens to these wines when we leave? And she said, I'd rather not say. And he said, what do you get to take them home? And she went, no, I'd rather not say.
Oh
God, I hope I don't get this woman into trouble. Anyway, so Adam, who's much more front foot than I am, said, could we take them? And she went, oh no, that's not something we do. He went, oh, but what happens to the wine? And she said, I'd rather not say. And he said, you don't. And she went, I'd rather not. He was like, oh my God, you literally throw them away, don't you? Let's just say that they weren't thrown away.
You just sat there.
We may have clanked around a little bit.
I'm surprised you remember it.
It was amazing. But that evening we went to lovely Tom Hudson from Farm Vintners and said, well, where should we go and eat? And where should we go and eat? Where should we go and eat? And he said, go to a place called La Tupina, which is, you walk in and there's this sort of counter of flesh in front of you and an open fire with the most astonishingly understandable wine list. He said, you have to go and eat in La Tupina. So we went to La Tupina, and all this kind of beef and lamb, whatever, was made on this open fire. And we ate that, and we tore through the wine list and just had the best evening. And it was
amazing. At
the end of an amazing day. But food is incredibly important wherever you go. Of course it is. It's an opportunity to have a completely, again, culturally sensual experience involving food.
And joyous with company.
And joyous, and it's always about the company. Yeah. It's always about the company.
Yeah,
and also I'm on a worldwide hunt, given that work takes me all over the place. And very fortunately, sometimes they put us up in some quite nice hotels. I'm on the worldwide hunt for the greatest breakfast buffet of all time. And that is a private challenge I will remain on for the rest of my days.
Well, a lady who was on the podcast yesterday was talking about Mauritius.
Okay.
And she said the reason she loved this place was because the buffet was so sensational for breakfast, lunch and dinner that even if they sent her to other restaurants for dinner, like the Michelin star restaurant, her and her partner would then circle back and have the buffet. And she said, and particularly the breakfast buffet.
I think a breakfast buffet is truly the greatest experience. And if you can hold off so you're really hungry. My brother-in-law, Phil, he's the king of a buffet. He has a plan. So there's a gorgeous hotel we've been to. My wife's family have been going there for 70 years. It's this tiny little ski resort in Austria. It's a hotel called the Hotel Post in a little tiny resort called Lermoos. It's very low in the mountains, so snow can be a bit ropey, but when it's good, it's wonderful. Very family-run hotel. The food is unbelievably good. They should be Michelin starred up to the hill, but I think they're just not worried about it.
Yeah.
They don't want to get involved in that world.
Yeah.
But once a week, they have what they call their gala buffet. And to watch my brother-in-law work that buffet, he's like a guru. He literally removes all the bread rolls from the table. He said, no, we're not going there. He does a sweep first, and then he reports back to the table. Whereas Lucy, my wife, panics. So she'll go to the buffet and she'll come back with a plate of pasta, tiramisu, and anything else. And she'll look at it and with such disgust and just go, oh God, I panicked. I didn't know what to do. Phil will just carefully. He goes, basic protein, salads. Perfect.
Amazing. I tell you where they have an amazing buffet. We were talking about it earlier, Pass all'Acqua on Lake Como and Grand Hotel Tremezzo. I think you might find your best buffet.
Good.
And you might spend the whole morning there and get up early to do so.
What time do they close? Which is always a worry.
Exactly. I think probably about 11 so that they can prepare for lunch. So if you get there early.
So if you can do sort of 9 for 2 hours. And then I'm good until dinner because I love dinner. Yeah. I can't not do. I think dinner is just socially and culturally the most glorious time to spend in company. And also dinners can kind of accidentally roll on. Also lunches can also accidentally roll on. So lunches, dinners are great. But if it would have gone to my head, I'd say the best breakfast buffet in the world. Clearly, I'm going to get that off you, and then I will hold off until
really
some
nice
sensational dinner.
When you filmed Night Manager was it Mallorca? Mm-hmm. Did you stay in a hotel? Did you have great food there? What was that like? We did.
We stayed. Well, we had 3 weeks. Part of our Mallorcan sort of extravaganza was we were filming in I think it's called La Fortaleza, which is this extraordinary property that used to be owned by, when we were filming there, owned by James Lupton, who's a Brit, and he owned it at that point, and it was this extraordinary on the peninsula just near Pollensa. I mean, it's the most beautiful place, and a lot of people now know it from the show. He's now sold it to someone else, but it was an astounding place. So we stayed relatively near there, and we then kind of rather brilliantly retreated into the heavenly notion, which is such a lovely thing to do in Europe or anywhere really, those kind of port fish places. Simple, cold white wine, fresh fish, straight off the boat, and almost plastic chairs, but beautifully simple food cooked simply and gorgeously, grilled fish, green salads, great company. I mean, again, so many fond memories of sitting with Hugh Laurie and Tom, the Toms, Hollander and Hiddleston and Elizabeth Debicki and stuff, and just having kind of after in the warmth, having had another sort of great day at work, of which we knew we were doing something kind of we thought that was really rather good.
It was amazing.
And then because also we traveled as a pack, so many times filming you can do your stuff and it won't involve other people, but because we were this kind of unit, because we were traveling as sort of Roper's gang, so that meant that we were filming all day and then basically hanging out in the evening as well.
There's that very great scene in that restaurant on the sea.
Yeah.
And that's in Dare. That's become very famous after The Night Manager, hasn't it? Because everyone Googles, what is that restaurant? Yeah. Do you know what that's called?
I can't remember. Someone actually, I've had 3 people in the last 3 weeks have said,
asked you
separately, and they don't know each other, said, oh, we went to The Night Manager restaurant when we were in Mallorca. And in fact, a friend of my sister's organised a birthday party and they recreated the entire trip. Yeah. So they hired the 2 boats that Hugh and I drove in the show. They hired them. They came around from Port Andratz, and then they came in blasting out the Night Manager theme music. They rented out the place. It was for a 50th birthday, and then they had an entire dinner. And when my sister told me, my sister was at this party, when my sister told me that that's what they were doing, I phoned Hugh and said, Hugh, could you write a letter in the style of Richard Roper that she could read out at the dinner?
Oh, that was so cool. And did he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so brilliant.
So yeah, it's called the Cas Patro March, I think.
Fantastic. And I actually think that's a brilliant way to do a birthday. And if I do it, I might be asking you to come.
It's really good. And also because they've got a just up the hill, and you can walk down from it. It used to be I think it may be still called the Residencia.
Yes.
So I think it's still called that. I think the Belmont Group now own it.
Yes, it
think,
was
but
Richard
it used
Branson.
to be Richard Branson, yeah. And I know when we were filming there, Tom Hiddleston stayed there for, I think, a night or two, rather than travel back to where we were staying in Palma. And I think he just thought, do you know what, I'm going to treat myself. Why not? So he did.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Very
gorgeous.
lovely.